Welcome to the Deskbound Therapy Podcast, hosted by David London. David is a posture and mobility expert, yoga teacher, and certified online trainer. This podcast is about empowering desk-bound professionals, how to live their healthiest life, and move pain-free. Now, let's dive into this episode.
I won't share something that I don't believe in or I'm passionate about. So all the exercises are stuff I use with myself and my clients, and I know that are going to be effective for people versus just posting, flashy exercises here and there. What is up, guys? Welcome back to the Deskbound Therapy Podcast. I'm your host, David London, and today is going to be a solo episode with my co-host, Pierce Ginzberg. He's been around since the inception of Deskbound Therapy, since the beginning when it was just an idea, and now we're 75,000 followers strong, and the podcast is top 100 on Apple Fitness. So pleasure to have you here. We're just gonna kind of go back and forth, chat about how Deskbound Therapy got started. Pierce will tell you a little bit more about himself, and then we'll go into some other topics I want to cover today, such as barriers to getting started with your posture and mobility journey. So pleasure to have you here. How's it
Thanks
going,
so
buddy?
much. Doing great. Thanks for having me on. And, I really appreciate being able to just communicate with your audience because, it's been a long time since, we've been working on Deskbound Therapy, and it's really great to see all the progress that you've made and how you've, fundamentally grown from an idea to a really motivating community, and also a place that's, here for professionals that are wanting to impact their own lives. A little bit about my background. I'm actually a graduate of the University of Florida, and I have an economics background. I've been working in software for the past 5 years now. So, since my collegiate days, David and I have, really talked about Deskbound Therapy wholeheartedly, and really gotten into, growing the idea today that you see from inception. It's been really awesome to witness the entire growth around it. And, in terms of how we have, grown together as individuals has been awesome. And I would love for, David, in particular, to just kind of mention how you first started off and where you were in your life. I think that's important to, really understand too, because that's exactly why Deskbound Therapy grew into what it is today.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely has been a long time. I remember a few months ago, I was on LinkedIn and it said, it's your 6-year anniversary. I'm like, my God, it's been 6 years. I feel like I've just been having fun the last few years and just working on this, and the time has flown. But looking back, I would say it started around summer 2015 or 2016 when I had my first job working as a software developer. And I was pretty excited for the job. My body just wouldn't hold up. I had tingling down my back. My neck was hurting. My lower back was hurting. Even standing at the desk didn't help me get out of pain. I had shoulder pain, all the time, typing, reaching, no matter how much I stood or I sat, I really couldn't get comfortable, and I couldn't get to the point where I could just work pain free. It was affecting my whole life. I had to stop my gymnastics training, and I tried going to, different therapists, but I just couldn't really get the results I wanted. I would just get back to work and, be in pain the next day. So back in, I think it was July 2016, I was like, screw this. I'm going to quit my job because I don't want other people to have to suffer working their desk jobs like I have. And I made it my mission since then. So, when I quit my job, and prior to that, I was actually teaching yoga for about 5-6 years while I was still programming. Then I went all in on teaching yoga. I started promoting, and I got people at my university to come to my classes. And then I took my personal trainer certification. And then from there, it was really just about learning. We tried starting out on YouTube, but really it was just kind of me just messing around with different stretches. I was trying to take yoga and bring it to, how can we help people do yoga throughout the day when they're sitting at their desks? And I, from my gymnastics background and personal training background, I really tried to put the best of things together into, started off with just posts on Instagram, or just posting and posting, trying to,
Yeah, for sure. Without a doubt, you clearly developed a holistic approach. I mean, it just was from your background. You literally were that individual who was looking for something different than everyone else was exactly recommending, because not everything works. And it's important to understand what the specific needs for an individual are, and, why even posture is important. In my career, a lot of individuals are in standing desks, and you see them around, or you see yoga balls in your office, and you wonder if you should, really get into that, activity of constant motion throughout your workday. And without a doubt, there are some amazing benefits that come about from that. And I think it's just important to note, the importance of posture, especially just in terms of how you're going to conduct your workday, your regular activities. I think there's a lot to be said about it. And I've noticed, as you've been able to coach me too, I've really developed the habit of being able to, give myself that time to use mobility within my day to actually get more effective, become more focused, and actually execute at a higher level because of the fact that I'm not in pain. I am directly, feeling my body, feeling those needs specifically in a manner that is unique to me. So I'd love for you to touch upon, just what you did to respectively, get out of that current, situation where you were in your job, you were feeling all the type of pain, and yeah, of course you were involved with yoga, but you really started doing stuff that was outside of the box. And the reason why I say that is because not a lot of people at the time were developing content specifically for desk bound workers. And today, we now are in an environment where virtual and office life is now intertwined, and it's really important to stay active.
Yeah, like the goal from the inception was to kind of pioneer the desk mount therapy movement. And I do feel I was one of the first ones posting about it because I found, shortly after, maybe a year later, everyone was really diving into the scene. But we were really one of the first ones there, if not the first, which is pretty cool to think about. Like, pretty sure we were one of the first ever to use hashtag Deskbound, which is pretty cool. But like in terms of how I've developed my system, for me, like I was going to other massage therapists, physiotherapists, but I was still in a lot of pain and discomfort. Then I realized, when I started taking ownership of my own health and I looked at my body as a whole, then I started to realize it's not just, my shoulder, my neck, but it's how I'm moving overall and how much I'm moving. So how much can we get to the point? So in my personal experience, like I found that surprisingly or not, the issues with my ankle were throwing off the positions of my hip, causing my lower back to be in a weird position and that affecting my shoulder. And when I actually fixed my ankle mobility, a lot of my pain in the rest of my body improved from there. And I've kind of used that mindset with a lot of, people I help is when I look at your posture and your pain that you're in from working your desk job, like let's see how you move globally as a whole instead of fixating on that one area. We'll keep it top of mind, but let's look at how you're moving in general as a human. Let's look holistically. Let's see how we can get you moving better overall and how we can get your body more comfortable and strong for sitting. That way it's not just, a band-aid solution, but we're really providing long-lasting solutions.
Yeah, and it really shows. I really love to hear that you respectively, just decided to take the approach that, yeah, it's important to focus on that individual pain point, but also develop all of the fundamentals around that too, and really become more adept in creating the habits around posture. And I think there's a lot more that goes into it that people don't realize. And the thing with it is when you start to work on your posture, it's a steady process, and it's important to note those progressive changes too, and just on a daily basis. I want to know how, specifically how you've developed a lot of those individual, exercises that you're putting out on a regular basis, because those are some really useful tidbits. And the nice thing about them is that the content is specifically designed to be in a tidbit size. So I'd love to hear your perspective on how you kind of innovate and change, mobility from something that feels like a chore rather to something that should just be involved in your everyday life. I think that's really the key there. And once you get into that habit, that's where everything else starts to change.
Yeah, it's interesting because when I first quit my job, I was still in so much pain that I had to do like an hour of yoga just to feel like relief for like a short period of time. And that was really frustrating because, we need something practical and more long lasting that people can do throughout the day to manage their pain, discomfort, and take care of their mobility. So what I would do was, I would spend hours and hours just thinking of what exercises are done on the mat, on the floor, and different exercises and different ways that I could, modify them to, work on the chair. And so I started, trying resistance bands and stuff. And I started trying a bunch of, other different things. But what it really came down to was just starting people off with simple, easy things, exercises as simple as just twisting your body in your chair or, setting the position of your hips in better posture. And I found starting people off with like simple actionable things they can do, things that don't, require, first, there's stretches that I share with people from the chair. There's ones where you stand up and you move around. But I think it's starting people off at the right point so they're not overwhelmed is super important, because you don't want to get to the point where, I have to bring a yoga mat to my office, or, I have to, go do this 20-minute stretch routine. But it's just teaching people to, get up more often and focus on the key areas that are affecting them.
Yeah, no, that makes wholeheartedly makes sense. And by the way, I wanted to congratulate you on all of the work that you've just been, doing over the past few years. And it's important to note that now you're fully a professional in the field with
Yeah,
your
it's pretty
master
crazy.
in physiotherapy. And it's been amazing to witness how you've incorporated the idea of around mobility into your everyday life and into how it impacts everyone around you. You're always that positive energy. You're that person who's directly wanting to see the best in people. And I think it's important to note that you're no stranger to, adapting your specific, routines to individuals of all different types of backgrounds, in terms of those people that need specific catered mobility because they are in severe, injury, or for example, they've been in workplaces where they've let their posture become something that now is taking control of their everyday routine. It's also important to note that you've worked with people all the way from athletics as well too. So I'd love for you to just kind of go into detail on how you provide that variation for your different aspects of partners that you're working with, because it's important to note that you literally work with any type of an individual, whether they're the most mobile or that person that's looking to develop and foster new habits.
Yeah, that's a good point. And we have worked with quite a lot of people, professional athletes, desk-bound CrossFitters, desk-bound lifters, or even just people who are desk-bound. They're not very physically active, but they want to start mobility, and they're just afraid of, working out and moving because their posture is going to, cause them issues. So we really help people from all walks of life. And, all of our programs are going to be, personalized to the individual. So what I like to do with people is just kind of understand where they are and where they want to be. So, those are two of the main questions I ask people, but also understand, what exercise activities do they aspire to have? Like, can we get you to the point where, you can, go back to playing soccer finally, or you can, a lot of people work with want to get back to, playing with their kids without lower back pain. That's, one of the most common themes I see. But the main thing that we do is we really just try to understand and resonate with them. And, our coaching isn't just, we don't give people programs, as but it's all about, that lifestyle transformation, all the habit change, like focusing on, slowly getting you doing mobility more often, slowly integrating it into your workouts, and just making you more aware of your posture overall. So, some of the people we work with who are, are doing stuff in the gym and they're having issues, we'll do, very in-depth online analysis of their mobility head to toe, as well as some of their movements in the gym. But for everyone I work with, we look at the key areas, the hips, the back, the hamstrings, the shoulders, looking at your squat, just trying to see how they move as a human. And then from there, we really use that information to cater, a progressive mobility plan and routine that's gonna, fit them as an individual. So say I made you an hour routine and, you're not consistently doing it. That's when we can check in, we can dial back. All right, these are the 3 key exercises I want you to do every day for, your most restricted areas. And then if you have extra time, here's X, Y, and Z. But it's really about, finding that balance in the solution, because people are busy. Like I, even myself, I can't remember the last time I did an hour of yoga. It might have been 2 weeks ago. I do a little bit of mobility here and there because that's kind of, I practice what I preach, in the sense that that's how I developed the system. Like I found like the hour to kind of distract me from other things. So I'll do an hour occasionally. I find I get my best results in, a 20 kind of minute, really focused effort of mobility, kind of get my body going in the morning, 10 minutes and 20 minutes in the afternoon, etc. But that's how I've designed all my programs is, there's a morning and we're going to give you an afternoon, and we're going to give you stuff to warm from the gym, but we're not going to, we're going to take away the guesswork and just make it so you can focus on doing the exercises and the rest of your life.
That's extremely important to note. I mean, piecemealing activities into blocks of time that are a lot more manageable is extremely important in a professional setting. And, especially what's gone on over the past year and a half now with everything going on, in terms of borders being shut down, individual offices being closed. It's been more important now to be that person who is going to be mobile, because everyone has been in that sedentary aspect of their lives because of the fact that there's been so many changes that have happened over the past few years. And it's important to see where you're placing your priorities for your partners. I'd love for you to specifically note how some of the changes have occurred from being that person who was coaching in person to that person now that is coaching a majority virtually. I think it's really important to note that, because of the fact that you're an individual that I find is able to use the virtual environment with the utmost precision. I think it's really great to see how you're able to bring your coaching specifically into your clients' everyday lives. So I'd love for you to touch upon how you've transitioned from being that person that was everyday coaching, on a personal basis, also into that virtual setting now.
I wanted to give a huge shout out to David at Deskbound Therapy. I started working with David about 8 to 9 months ago. And when I first joined, I had a lot of back pain. I needed to work on my posture. And we took the first couple months to kind of fix up my posture. My back started feeling great. I didn't have any problems when I was lifting or anything like that. And once we got my body kind of ready to lift, got into the weights, and I started gaining size pretty quick, and I got very strong. And even everybody around me, my family, my friends, everybody noticed the gain in my size. And every time my goals would change a little bit, David would kind of work with me. He's very knowledgeable, and especially with nutrition. So that was one thing I didn't know a whole lot about. So with David kind of helping me through the whole process, I was able to kind of meet my goals and do everything I needed to do. And now my body feels great. And anytime I've had other issues, my shoulder hurt, my foot hurt, things like that, he would kind of change the plan up, worked with me throughout the whole process. And I'm very thankful, David, for the results I've gotten. So if you need to fix your body up, you want to get stronger, you want to get lean, go check out David at Deskbound Therapy.
Yeah, it's interesting because online coaching has been so much more popular since, the pandemic, but I've really tried and true tested my system for like, a good 4 or 5 years before that really happened. So we had a good system in place, a really strong foundation. So, I found I really like the online space for, the mobility assessment specifically, is because I make sure everyone takes a video of, how they're moving. We can keep records. We can actually see how you feel better, but looking at your quality movement as well. Whereas I found in person, you might look at something once, but you want to kind of backtrack. So yeah, you can record videos, but I find when you're with the person, you can sometimes cue them more and you'll get, a good workout at the time there. But I found my online, spaces allowed me to make people more accountable. Like I have like 30 or 40 guys in my group program right now. I'm checking in with them once a week. I'm like, anytime, something in the program's not working, feel free to reach out to myself or one of my team members. So I'm in the middle of a transition process where we're just starting to offer some in person again, but more of a hybrid model. Because what people need is not that hour, but they need, the accountability and the support of the group we have going. And I found that to be, the biggest thing that I've seen my clients get better results is instead of, you're just working with just me, but you get to work with me as well as, communicate with all the other amazing students and clients I'm coaching as well. And I found it to be extremely motivating because like when I was injured, I was like, I don't know anyone else who's like 21 with major back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, etc., who can't go to the gym. So now there's like everyone gets to meet in our group calls and be like, hey guys, nice to meet you. It's so good to feel supported. And I found like the community base is huge.
For sure. Community is everything when it comes to any type of process you're involved with. Even in my current line of work, community building is the fundamental aspect of how any individual is going to become sustainable long term. I think it's really important to note that you're specifically that type of person that wants to be able to introduce others with similar interests to each other. And
Yeah.
that's an important key there, because, when it comes to coaching, you want to be able to have people that you can talk to aside from your specific coach. And you also want the person to be able to have that similar understanding of where you came from. And it's important to be able to just have that concierge, or that ability to just be able to relay and bounce back feedback off of each other. I'd love for you to touch upon specifically how you, go about, creating a specific set of content. I think it's important to pay attention to, when we first started creating content, we started doing a lot of stuff that was outside the box. We were putting together pieces of information that wasn't readily seen on the internet, infographics, different, specific enactments of movements via video, and even infographics including actual positioning. Where did you decide to start incorporating some of those movements into the content itself? And how has, for example, the idea of like something like TikTok and Reels changed how you're developing your content?
Yeah, it's quite interesting because when we first started, Instagram was, Instagram fitness wasn't a huge thing. I'm pretty sure my friend who was on the podcast, Adam McCluskey, was the first physical therapist on there back in the day. And, there's every physical therapist is on there now, I'm pretty sure. So as the landscape has definitely changed, but the key things, for me is I only share things that I personally have done. So like any stretches that I've done, I won't share something that I don't, I don't believe in or I'm passionate about. So all the exercises or stuff I use myself and my clients, and I know that are going to be effective for people versus just posting, flashy exercises here and there. A lot of trainers do it, but that's not really what we stand for at Deskbound Therapy. So we started off, taking little pictures, using infographics of different things, trying to really show people different exercises. So we were very graphic dominant based at the start of Instagram, pictures with little arrows and stuff. And then we've adapted to, now it's a video sharing platform. So we still share some pictures here and there, but we were really focusing before we're kind of spreading ourselves short, pictures and videos, kind of lives and doing everything. Now we're really focusing on just producing high quality video. So, I found Instagram TVs were good for longer form content, but I found like the platform itself is more suited for short term. So we tested, Instagram TVs. We had the podcast on there for a while, but I really like Reels because it forces me as a creator to be concise, to get to the point and create content that's easy for people to digest versus, when TikTok and Reels first came out, it was all about, flashy entertainment. Here's a stretch with some cool music on it. And now I'm branching away from what's trending and focusing more on how I can be impactful. So we recently started doing, in the last 2 weeks, voiceovers, one exercise, very clearly explaining how to do the movement. And then for those people who don't have audio or they're at their work, we've added text to the screen. So we're just making it, real bite-sized snacks, because that's really what you're going to get with our programs is you're going to get, easily digestible exercises. They get to the point that help you get the results you're looking for. So, I think we're going to continue in this direction because, we've gotten a, huge feedback in terms of this type of content we're making. And I would like to, eventually, I think, as the podcast continues to grow, in the show notes have some, references to some exercises we discussed as well. Could be pretty cool if we ever reference anything.
Oh, for sure. When it comes down to it, I think that the way that you've, adapted towards the new Instagram algorithms have been, remarkable. I think it's to the point where now it's coming out directly so fluid that people are able to take that content and directly see that it's different than everything that's out there. I think there's a lot more to it when you're directly, engaging with your audience based around their needs, what they're messaging you, what they're saying in the comments, and creating content based around that. I think that is particularly important too. So, it's been awesome to be able to witness how you've adapted in that regard. And I think that there's really so much room for just the way that content's going to change in the future and the new ideas that are going to, arise, because of the fact that you're always doing stuff that's, setting a trend. It's setting the feel for how individuals should conduct themselves in the industry. It's about delivering impact. I think that is the best thing that you can do. And you're no stranger to it. I'd love for you to kind of, touch upon specifically just, your background. I know you just completed your degree. So I'd love for you to just kind of, key in on some of the main points that you've, been working on over the past 2 years and how it's changed who you are as a coach now that you're that person that specifically is able to be a guide to everyone. You're a master in physiotherapy, and it's really important to note that you're an expert, and it's amazing to just be able to see your start to where you are now.
Yeah, definitely learned a lot. And one of the biggest things I've learned that is, the body's extremely complex, but at the same time, we really need to keep looking from that holistic lens. And that's just to say, like, before, I've always been pro posture, pro mobility, and you'll still see people out there saying, the next posture is your best posture, or posture doesn't matter. But what I've learned in school, it's reinforced what I believe in, is that, posture does matter. And, the way you move does matter long term, because, if we get spent too long in one position, we get tight and we get weak, and we get, and that really affects everything else in our life. Like if you can't move well, you're not gonna, it affects our nervous system. And it's not just the muscles we're dealing with the person, we're dealing with the nervous system. There's so many things going on. But a bigger thing that I realized is, because we also studied, the heart and cardiorespiratory system, that we really need to get desk-bound people more active, like, walking more. Like we're at the desk so much, and, I'm glad people are working from home more. But I feel like the big thing too is, you can improve your mobility and your posture just from, going for more walks. Just getting moving more is like a big thing that I haven't advocated a ton about in the past, but I'm starting to realize like that can totally shift your mood and your energy when you're working. And in combination with the exercises can be pretty powerful. And another big thing too, coming back to, people who say posture doesn't matter. Like if we look at the research and we look at the literature, like if you're in a bad position that your spine anatomically wasn't designed to be in, there's going to be some sort of compensation somewhere else. So yes, you might not be in pain, slouching a little bit. I want my clients to first understand how to move the spine in all directions, but also understand how to not move it when they're at the gym or into different positions. So yes, it's bad if we're stuck in the flex position and we can't, do a back bend or come out into extension or into, side bend, rotation, etc. But I think the key thing to think about is when those compensations are occurring, there's actually micro trauma occurring in our spine, in our muscles. So we just want to make sure that we don't, it's not that we spend too long in the positions, but we're aware of how to move our spine in and out of different positions. So, I believe we should be in, the anatomical position, when we're just doing work, and then, sitting back a little bit coming out of that. But I do think, we people got to really take posture seriously. It's not a joke. Like posture is how you carry yourself, how you look. It's going to affect, your posture at your desk. If you're slouching at your desk, you're going to be slouching at the gym, and that can lead to a lot of issues long term. And then too, like a lot of people too, whether it be in a motor vehicle accident or a car accident, or they have shoulder pain, posture doesn't matter until it does matter. And like a lot of these things are exacerbated if you're trying to, fix, neck pain, but you're predisposed to, poor posture. So if we can position the body in a better position, we can position ourselves for a greater healing capacity.
Oh, without a doubt. And I think that is something to just really pay attention to, is the fact that you're that individual who practices exactly what they preach. And at the same time, you're that person that's also willing to hear multiple perspectives and really generate the best response that is going to be used for someone in need. And I think you're that person that's gone with the mantra of being the change that they wish to see. And I think
100%.
that there's just no way to fully, quantify how specifically that impact is being directly attributed, but it's amazing to witness because of the fact that I see people now from all across North America talking about you. And I have conversations all the way down in Florida. We are thousands of miles apart from each other, and people talk about you to me, which is an amazing thing to be able to, hear about. And it's just been phenomenal to witness your growth. And without a doubt, there is going to be some great things in sight for 2022. And I know that we, have directly, gone through so many changes, and it's just amazing to see where you're going to end up. And it's been a pleasure, being able to just chat about everything. And I look forward to being able to talk more on, where you're going. And I think it's just been a pleasure to just be able to work alongside you.
Yeah, man, it's been a real good time. It's definitely been a journey, but it feels like we're just getting started. I feel like the momentum
No doubt.
has really kicked in, and we've got our signature program now. We got the group coaching, and we're going to be returning to in person. But I feel like the podcast is going to keep growing, and that was my goal at the beginning, was to make Deskbound Therapy a household name. So if I saw you at the office, be like, hey Pierce, let's go do some Deskbound Therapy. And I still think that it's only the beginning, and more people are going to do it. So really just, keep, increasing awareness for the brand is, a big thing of mine. Whenever I go out now, I'm telling everybody about the podcast. I was at a 5-star restaurant on, was it Sunday night? And I give the server my card. I said, check out my podcast. So I'm just, I started off 6 years ago doing a lot of word of mouth, and now I'm going back to it. I'm like, I can do Instagram, but man, let me, everybody I meet, I'm sure I can change their life somehow. So I'm just trying to be, to get out there and get uncomfortable.
Oh, for sure, for sure. And 2022, there's only upward mobility in sight. So it's really, great to be able to be along for the ride. And we, look forward to being on more episodes. And if everyone has any questions for David or myself, feel free to reach out via Instagram or my direct Instagram, and I'll be sure to directly have David address any type of specific answer that you're looking for too. So I hope everyone has a great week, and we look forward to having more episodes in 2022 as well.
Yeah, thanks guys for tuning into the episode. If you did enjoy this episode, feel free to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. And as always, I reply to all direct messages on Instagram at Deskbound Therapy. So if you want to learn more about the signature program or what one-on-one coaching would look like for you, feel free to reach out. There's no pressure to get started today. Just want to learn to see if we'd be a good fit to help you out. Or if you want to bring us into your office space for a workshop, we have those available as well. So looking forward to hearing from you. And thanks again for tuning into the show.